The alarm sounds. For half a second you hover between worlds, caught in that narrow place where yesterday still echoes and today has not yet taken shape. Most people waste that borderland. They slap the alarm, drag the mind through scattered memories, then reach for a glowing screen that floods the brain with other people's plans. In that first fragile minute they hand their freedom to distraction and the day is lost before it starts. You will live differently. Napoleon Hill discovered that every titan he interviewed observed a private ritual at sunrise, a deliberate act that set the mental compass toward purpose. He called it the daily self-command. It is simple, it is repeatable, and it works whether you are a factory worker or a founder. It is the single habit that pulls every other principle into alignment. Master this and success stops being an accident. It becomes your shadow. Step 1 is to rise on the first signal. Not 5 minutes later, not after bargaining with comfort. Feet land on the floor as if a starter pistol just fired. This immediate victory tells your subconscious that you lead, impulses follow. Step 2 is posture. Stand tall, shoulders wide, chest open. Your body speaks to your mind more than words ever will. When you hold a posture of strength, hormones shift, breathing deepens, the heart rate steadies. You broadcast confidence inward long before anyone sees you from the outside. Step 3 is breath. Draw air in through the nose for a count of 4, hold for 4, release through the mouth for 6. 3 cycles. Imagine each exhale sweeping yesterday's fragments out of the room like dust pushed by a broom. By the third round the mind is clear ground, ready for new construction. Step 4 is the spoken creed. Hill insisted that definiteness of purpose must be declared aloud. Create one sentence, no longer than a single breath, that defines what success means to you in this season. Example: today I create value, practice courage, and step closer to financial independence. Whisper it if others sleep, shout it if you dare, but speak it. Sound moves thought from vapor into vibration and your own ears become the first audience. Step 5 is the 3-minute future preview. Close your eyes and watch the next 12 hours unfold as if seen from a camera held above your shoulder. Visualize arriving early to the office, hammering through the critical project, hearing yes on a proposal, finishing a workout with a final burst of power. Feel the texture of a satisfied evening when the mission is complete. Neuroscience proves that such vivid rehearsal primes the circuitry that guides decision and focus. The brain begins looking for doors that match the picture you supplied. Step 6 is commitment to the crucial act. Identify one move that if completed will shift the entire trajectory of the day. It might be a client email, the first paragraph of a business plan, or a difficult phone call you have avoided for weeks. Write it on a card or in bold ink at the top of a notebook. Place that note where you cannot miss it. Until that act is done, nothing else earns your attention. This is the fulcrum that turns energy into progress. Step 7 is a burst of physical ignition. 10 push-ups, 20 bodyweight squats, or a brisk set of jumping jacks. Enough to raise the pulse and warm the muscles, not enough to exhaust them. Movement locks the earlier mental decisions into the nervous system. You are no longer thinking about discipline, you are moving in it. Finish with gratitude. Speak 3 specific thanks, not generalities. Thank the roof that kept rain from your sleep, thank the friend who checked in yesterday, thank the opportunity hidden inside today's biggest challenge. Gratitude lubricates the gears of persistence and shields the mind from the rust of complaint. In under 10 minutes you have issued a clear command to every layer of self. Body is aligned, mind is focused, emotions are positive, and the first concrete step toward your vision stands ready. The rest of the world may still be asleep, but you have already won the hardest battle, the battle against inertia. Repeat this ritual tomorrow, then the next day, and watch how time bends. Emails get answered faster. Ideas arrive uninvited. People describe you as steady even when storms rise. Nothing magical happened. You merely claimed the morning moments where destiny is soft clay and shaped them with purpose. Hill taught that thought backed by purpose becomes creative power, and that power expressed in daily habit becomes unstoppable force. The dawn decision is that habit. Guard it. Hold it sacred. Because the minute you master those first minutes, success starts chasing you for the rest of the hours. The moment the dawn habit is complete, you step from sacred ritual into the wider arena of the day. What greets you there will either protect that fragile flame or blow it out. Success therefore demands that you craft surroundings that feed your resolve. Begin with the desk or kitchen table where your first block of work occurs. Sweep every object that does not serve today's definitive task into a box and set it out of sight. A clear surface speaks silence to the mind, and silence sparks focus. Place a single anchor item where your eyes rest most often, something that reminds you of the larger promise, perhaps a photo of family or a printed sentence of your purpose. You now possess a visual compass that silently corrects drift. Turn next to the computer that will carry much of your creative load. Change the start page to a blank sheet or a document containing the one action that must be finished by noon. Remove news flashes, social media badges, and software auto-updates that shout for attention. If temptation still whispers, create a second user profile holding only the tools that move income, skill, or health. During prime hours you log into that profile and nowhere else. The single tap required to cross back to distraction becomes a guardrail because each tap would confess that you are betraying the dawn decision you made to yourself. Schedule a simple 90-second reset alarm for mid-afternoon. When it vibrates, you push back the chair, stand, stretch your arms toward the ceiling, inhale slowly, then restore order. Toss a wrapper, file an open notebook, close stray tabs. 90 seconds feels trivial, but repeated daily it prevents the slow creep of chaos that eventually strangles attention like ivy around a tree. Hill warned that a negative influence can undo a day of powerful thinking. Write the names of the 5 people you interact with most on paper. Without judgment, place a plus sign beside those who leave you energized and a minus beside those who leave you drained. Over the next week, tilt your minutes toward the plus and gently limit the minus. Suggest walking meetings with energizing allies. Let voicemail handle repetitive complainers until work is done. Social environment is oxygen or carbon monoxide for ambition. Feed the brain with sound and send cues that summon flow. Choose one instrumental track that feels like momentum and press play whenever you open the laptop. After a week, the first note flips a neurological switch into performance mode. Dab a hint of citrus or peppermint oil near the keyboard. Scent reaches the memory centers faster than sight and becomes a silent coach that says it is time to create. Fuel the body so the mind can sprint without cramping. Breakfast should feature water, protein, and slow-digesting carbohydrate. Oats with almonds, eggs with greens, yogurt with seeds. Carry a refillable bottle and sip before thirst speaks, even mild dehydration saps executive function. Divide the calendar into colored blocks containing creation, learning, administration, and recovery. In the green creation block, phones are muted and doors shut. When blue learning block appears, you read, watch tutorial content, or practice a micro skill. Yellow administration means rapid-fire emails and invoices. Red recovery block means movement, fresh air, laughter with a friend, anything that renews chemicals of drive. Each block ends with a brief jot of what was achieved, then the next identity steps in. Compartmentalizing prevents task bleed and keeps willpower sharp. Night is the runway for dawn. Before sleep, set the desk again. Lay out clothing or running shoes. Keep tomorrow's notebook open at the top. Objective. Write 3 wins from the day and 3 gratitudes. This closes mental loops and releases the mind into restful repair. Morning will arrive with fewer decisions clinging to it like heavy coats. All you will need to do is step into the prepared environment and ignite the keystone habit again. Tape a small handwritten pledge beneath the monitor where only you will know it exists. I choose surroundings that propel me forward. Every time you clear clutter, silence a notification, or decline a gossip call, you fulfill that pledge and train cosmic habit force to expect excellence by default. An eagle does not fight the air to rise, it rides currents shaped by landscape. By sculpting your landscape, you create upward currents for your ambition. Tomorrow, when the creed leaves your mouth, the room will already answer back, yes, begin. Morning victory lights the fire, but fire without a map can still wander into darkness. Napoleon Hill found that every lasting success rested on a written plan so specific it could guide another person to the goal. This section turns your energy into architecture. Think of it as pouring molten metal into a mold. The mold shapes what would otherwise sprawl and cool without form. Begin tonight with 1 sheet of plain paper. Write the 90-day target across the top. Use numbers, not poetry. Example: secure 4 paying clients at $2,000 each by 30 September 2025. Numbers are bricks. Vague words are fog. Draw 3 large rectangles beneath the target. Label them Skill Network System. Skill is the ability gap that once closed will unlock speed. Network is the person or group whose trust would shorten the climb. System is the repeatable process that removes guesswork. Under each rectangle, list exactly 1 action for the coming week. For skill, it might read finish lesson 2 of the design course and submit a draft logo. For network, it could be schedule coffee with Jordan, who already serves my dream clients. For system, it may be create a template email that converts inquiry to meeting. 1 action each. More than 1 invites overload, and overload breeds delay. Now schedule each action into your calendar today, not someday. Skill action on Tuesday at 1900. Network coffee Thursday at 1000. System template Friday at 1600. If it is not on a clock, it is fiction. Hang the sheet beside your bed. When you wake and complete the dawn ritual, you will see the sheet and the day will arrive pre-instructed. Guard the calendar with the 2-gate rule. When a new request enters your world, ask 2 questions. 1. Will this speed up the 90-day target? 2. Can it fit inside the current schedule without stealing energy from the keystone habit? If either answer is no, you decline with respect. Protection of plan is not selfish, it is strategic. Midweek, run a 3-minute audit. Stand, breathe, and review each rectangle. If an action is finished, write the next logical move in the same rectangle. If progress stalled, ask what exact obstacle blocked momentum. Lack of time is rarely the truth. Lack of clarity is the usual thief. Decide the smallest possible step to regain motion and schedule it immediately. Document every completed step in a victory log. A simple notebook line that reads Monday. Email template finalized. This catalog is fuel during long nights. When doubt whispers, you open the log and see proof that you are a builder, not a dreamer. Each evening, close the day with 3 short questions. What result did I move today? What lesson emerged from friction? What must happen first tomorrow? Answer on paper in less than 5 sentences. The brain processes written reflection during sleep and often gives fresh ideas at dawn. Finally, create a private council in imagination. Choose 3 mentors, living or dead, whose judgment you respect. When a decision feels heavy, sit in silence and ask each mentor in turn, what would you advise? Write the first answer that surfaces. Imagination used this way becomes an early version of the mastermind Hill praised. You are drawing on the collective wisdom coded into memory and books. At this point, you possess a living document that directs your energy like rails guide a train. The plan evolves, but discipline does not. Return to the sheet nightly. Adjust numbers only with calm logic, not emotion. Celebrate each rectangle that moves from plan to habit. Skill practiced daily becomes reflex. Network cultivated weekly becomes alliance. System repeated monthly becomes automation. The sun will rise tomorrow on 2 kinds of people: those with enthusiasm alone and those with enthusiasm welded to a blueprint. Enthusiasm fades. Blueprint endures. Place your written map where the morning light reaches it first. Let the paper remind your heart that dreams written in ink commit you to action. Then step into the day and lay another brick toward the 90-day fortress. The first weeks of disciplined action feel like a sunrise that never ends. Energy is high. Progress is visible. Then life tests every pioneer. The project that looked certain stalls. An unexpected bill lands. A friend doubts your plan out loud. These storms are not proof that you are on the wrong road. They are confirmation that you left the harbor of mediocrity. Napoleon Hill called them temporary defeat. He insisted that inside each obstacle hides an equal or greater seat of advantage, but only if the traveler meets the storm with what he called applied faith. Applied faith is not blind optimism. It is the calm decision to keep building when the blueprint is soaked by rain. It is the voice that says I planted seed, therefore harvest will come even while the field looks barren. When a setback strikes, the first move is to freeze the moment and name the gift inside the gut punch. Ask 4 questions on paper. 1. What weakness did this reveal? 2. What truth had I ignored until now? 3. Which skill system or ally will solve this faster next time? 4. Does this event push me toward a smarter route? Writing these answers flips the mind from victim to engineer. Problems become projects and projects can be finished. Next comes a rapid physiological reset. Stress floods the bloodstream with chemicals that favor quick escape over clear thought. Stand tall. Roll the shoulders until the chest opens. Inhale through the nose for a slow count of 6. Hold for 6. Release through the mouth for 6. Smile briefly even if forced. This simple series lowers cortisol and persuades the brain that danger is passing. Clear thought returns and the builder can resume his work. Applied faith demands proof built from immediate motion. Choose a single act that declares I still believe in this plan. Lost a client. Send 2 fresh proposals within the hour. Pulled a muscle. Schedule a rehabilitation session before lunch. Faced harsh criticism online. Publish a new piece of value content before night falls. Small swift deeds interrupt helplessness. Momentum rewrites mood. Keep a running record of every defeat and its hidden benefit. Title the document My Adversity Ledger. For each entry, note the date, the setback in 1 sentence, the first action you took within 24 hours, and the unexpected upside that emerged later. Review the ledger once a month. You will notice a pattern that repeats. Pain pressed you into upgrades that comfort never would have suggested. This written evidence becomes armor. The next time fear whispers, you open the ledger and see a catalog of victories mined from trouble. Fear loses its leverage. Set a rule called the 60-minute window. When bad news arrives, you allow 60 minutes for natural emotion. Anger, disappointment, even a moment of sadness can pass through. When the clock dings, you move. Either a conversation, a written plan, or a physical task begins. Emotion is honored but never allowed to build a nest. Remember the words Hill wrote in the margins of his own notes. Faith removes limitations. He did not mean that difficulty evaporates. He meant that faith shines light on alternate routes through the difficulty. A locked door becomes an invitation to design a key. A canceled payment becomes a signal to diversify income. A critical comment becomes a mirror showing where to sharpen your message. Cultivate a nightly ritual that fertilizes faith while the body sleeps. Write a single statement of victory as if it has already happened. For example, I am grateful that my service now attracts 4 premium clients consistently. Read the line slowly 3 times before turning off the lamp. The subconscious mind works best when the conscious guard is relaxed. Night after night, the line sinks deeper until behavior rises to meet the picture. Guard your language during setbacks. Never say I am defeated. Say I encountered a defeat. The first statement welds misfortune to identity. The second merely records an event on the timeline. Identity must remain tied to purpose, not to circumstance. Surround yourself with allies who reflect belief. Share your adversity ledger with them during weekly check-ins. When you say I faced trouble and here is how I converted it to progress, you teach resilience by example and your circle mirrors that standard back to you. If someone in the group responds with chronic pessimism, pause and consider distance. Hill wrote that criticism without suggestion of improvement is a thief of enthusiasm. Protect your energy with the same vigilance used to protect money in a vault. Create a symbol that represents triumph over trials. Perhaps a small piece of scrap metal bent by hand into a ring. Place it on the desk. Each time you glance at it, let memory recall a past difficulty that became a stepping stone. The brain learns through repetition, and symbolism is repetition in visual form. Finally, celebrate mini comebacks. When you turn a looming bill into a new contract or transform a failed meeting into a better strategy, mark the date with a modest treat. Not a costly reward, but a moment of acknowledgement. A long walk at sunset, an hour with a novel, or a special coffee. Celebration locks the lesson that resilience is fruitful. Over time you will notice that adversity begins to trigger anticipation, not dread, because part of you knows a bigger benefit is hiding close by. Applied faith welded to daily habit does more than endure storms. It harvests energy from lightning. It converts pressure into precision. It sculpts a character capable of handling the weight of larger victories ahead. When the next barrier rises, you will greet it with posture, breath, action, and unbreakable belief. You planted seed, therefore harvest will come. That is not a hope. That is law. Every ambitious vision eventually grows beyond the reach of a single mind. Even the most disciplined routine and the strongest applied faith will meet challenges that require insight, skills, or resources you do not yet possess. Napoleon Hill discovered that leaders who multiplied their power drew upon a mastermind, an alliance of individuals bound by shared purpose, absolute honesty, and mutual growth. When such a bond forms, it produces a third invisible intelligence far greater than the sum of its parts. Your task now is to build that circle, to amplify the habit that already guides your mornings. Begin by defining the purpose aloud in a quiet room. State clearly that the alliance exists to accelerate a measurable goal, not to exchange idle stories. For example, you might say, we gather weekly to help each member secure 4 premium clients within this quarter. Speaking the purpose sets a frequency that attracts compatible people and repels distraction. Write the statement and keep it in sight whenever you invite a prospect into the circle. Choose members with surgical care. Select 2 or 3 people whose strengths complete your weakness and whose character aligns with discipline. One might be a strategist who sees patterns in data. Another could be a communicator who opens doors with a single email. A third may bring technical craft that turns ideas into assets. Do not fill a seat merely because someone is pleasant. Friendship is optional, but shared commitment is obligatory. Before the first meeting, craft a simple charter. Limit the document to 1 page to prevent legal fog. Include the goal, the frequency of meetings, the rule of punctuality, and the promise of confidentiality. Each person signs the charter. A signature converts intention into covenant. Place a copy in the workspace so that when fatigue tempts you, the ink reminds you of your public vow. Set the rhythm. 30 minutes once a week is enough when focus is sharp. Open with a minute of silence, breathing collectively to center the room. Follow with a quick round where each person reports a victory and a barrier. Choose 1 barrier for a deep dive. Ask rapid questions until the root problem is exposed, then brainstorm practical steps. Conclude with each member committing to a single measurable action due before the next meeting. Record the commitments in a shared document visible to all. Visibility breeds accountability. Require evidence inside 24 hours. A message, a screenshot, a calendar, invite something that proves the promised action began. Action within a day turns excitement into momentum. If a member fails twice, address it privately with respect yet firmness. The alliance is a forge, not a couch. Mediocrity cannot be allowed to lower the heat. Protect the culture like a gardener protects young shoots. No gossip, no complaint without a proposed solution, no comparing of achievements in a way that breeds envy. Encourage frank praise and constructive critique. When someone delivers a win, celebrate loudly. When someone admits failure, support, yet insist on a corrective plan. Energy remains high because truth keeps it pure. Leverage the alliance to expand networks. Each month host an open session inviting 1 guest who excels in an area everyone needs. The guest shares knowledge, the alliance shares gratitude. Often these guests become future partners or mentors. Opportunity compounds when value is offered freely. Integrate alliance insights back into the morning habit. After a meeting, capture the single idea that struck you hardest. Rewrite your daily creed to include it for the next 7 days. If the strategist taught you a time-saving framework, you might add, today I apply the 3-step filter to every task. By embedding the lesson in your dawn ritual, you lock it into behavior rather than letting it expire as a nice thought. Keep a ledger titled Collective Wins. Each alliance member notes weekly progress on 1 line. Over months, the ledger becomes a tapestry of proof that cooperation accelerates destiny. When doubt appears, open the ledger and a wave of evidence silences fear. Expect conflict. Intelligent minds will differ. Establish a simple process in advance. When disagreement surfaces, each side states the objective facts, the feeling behind the stance, and one proposed compromise. The group votes only if consensus fails. This prevents heated moments from hardening into resentment. Plan an annual retreat, even if it is a single afternoon in a park. Face-to-face time refreshes trust and sparks creative leaps that video calls cannot replicate. During the retreat, review the charter, update goals, and set new personal standards. Conclude with a ritual, a handshake circle, a collective affirmation, something that seals the renewed bond. Eventually, your original table may outgrow its frame. When conversation no longer stretches, you thank the group and rotate out, leaving a seat ready for someone who needs that stage. Growth demands new mountains. You carry the discipline of alliance into the next climb, and you leave behind a culture that keeps lifting others. Remember, a mastermind is not a luxury, it is the essential amplifier of your solitary effort. The daily habit harnesses your internal power, the alliance converts that power into large-scale influence. Together they form a closed loop that feeds energy, purpose, and strategy in endless cycles. Build with intention, guard with honor, and watch as doors you never knew existed swing wide simply because collective genius knocked. The habit is burning, the alliance is formed, and you advance each week, yet there is a silent law at work that can either lock your gains into permanence or erase them the moment attention slips. Napoleon Hill named it the law of cosmic habit force. It states that any thought, emotion, or behavior repeated long enough becomes a pattern that the universe itself begins to echo back through circumstances and people. You can picture it like water carving a groove through stone. At first the stream is thin, easily blocked, but the longer it flows in the same direction, the deeper the channel becomes until no casual obstacle can divert it. Your dawn decision is that stream. Continue to send it down the same path, and in time nothing short of a catastrophe can alter its course. The danger is the opposite path, the moments when you allow the stream to split, to trickle toward distraction or laziness, carving smaller channels that weaken the main current. Therefore, this stage is about codifying permanence so that the stream widens rather than divides. Begin with a tangible streak marker. Draw a grid of 90 small squares on a sheet of paper and tape it beside the bed. Each morning after the habit is complete, mark a bold X. The visual chain feels childish, yet the brain despises breaking a visible sequence. Miss one morning and the empty square will glare at you like an accusation. That discomfort is harnessed energy. Use it once by rising at the next dawn with twice the intensity. If you keep the chain intact for 90 straight days, you have reached what neuroscientists call automaticity, the threshold where behavior transfers from prefrontal effort to basal ganglia autopilot. Pair the streak with monthly milestones so your mind receives proof of progress before boredom whispers. At the end of every 30 days, capture one hard result connected to the habit. This might be revenue gained, words written, kilometers run, or body fat lost. Log each metric in a single document. Do not trust memory, the mind forgets victories faster than defeats. The log becomes a telescope aimed back through time, showing a constellation of winds that convince you to keep rowing when waves rise. Embed the habit into identity by language. Never say I am trying to rise early. Say I am a man who rises early and commands the morning. Identity statements program the reticular activating system, which filters reality. Once identity is set, the brain protects the label with fierce loyalty. If a late-night invitation threatens your dawn creed, identity speaks first and excuses die quietly. Guard against the comfort creep that invades success. When the streak feels easy, raise the bar by 5%. Add one set to the workout, extend meditation by 1 minute, send one extra proposal. Progress rests on the edge of challenge. If effort never grows, the groove deepens but becomes narrow, unable to handle future torrents of opportunity. Controlled overload strengthens the banks without bursting them. Prepare for travel, illness, or family demands with a minimum viable version of your ritual. Reduce the creed to a single sentence, the breath to 1 cycle, the movement to 10 slow squats. Perform the minimal form even in airport lounges or hotel rooms. This keeps the chain alive. The brain records intention, not scale. When normal conditions return, expand the habit back to full length within 24 hours before inertia snaps shut like a bear trap. Integrate periodic novelty without altering the core. Rotate music playlists each quarter, change the anchor object on your desk, or shift the flavor of your morning drink. Novelty stimulates dopamine yet leaves the structural pillars untouched. The habit remains familiar while the mind enjoys a fresh breeze. Teach the ritual. Explain your method to a willing friend or a new alliance member. Teaching cements learning. Standing in the role of instructor forces you to articulate the why behind each step. Any fuzziness you stumble over marks a concept to revisit. After teaching, arrange a follow-up where the student reports progress. Their improvement feeds your own conviction, closing a loop of shared reinforcement. Celebrate the 100th repetition with a small rite of passage. Some burn the original streak paper and frame the ashes as a symbol that the habit now lives inside, not on paper. Others hike a mountain at sunrise reciting the creed to the horizon. The form matters less than the emotional stamp it leaves. The celebration ties joy to discipline, turning memory into motivation fuel. Finally, project forward 5 years. Write a letter from your future self thanking your present self for protecting the habit. Describe the changes in health, wealth, and influence. Detail the house you live in, the causes you support, the family moments you treasure. Seal the letter and schedule a calendar reminder to open it on the exact date. The future voice will echo each morning you hesitate, reminding you that quitting now steals gifts already waiting down the timeline. With cosmic habit force engaged, your daily decision transcends willpower. It becomes nature. The journey is far from over, but the river now runs deep and sure, impossible to forget, difficult to disrupt, and destined to carve an enduring canyon of achievement through the landscape of your life. When the daily habit has become second nature and the environment lifts rather than limits you, there comes a subtle yet decisive frontier, the arena of spoken thought. Napoleon Hill saw that men rise or sink according to the phrases they repeat to themselves. He named this principle autosuggestion. Thoughts charged with emotion pass through the conscious gate and take root in the fertile soil of the subconscious, where they bloom into matching actions and circumstances. If the words you plant are bold and constructive, your subconscious works tirelessly on your behalf. If they are timid or saturated with doubt, the same power quietly sabotages every step. You are now ready to harness autosuggestion as a morning and evening refinery, turning raw desire into directed certainty. Begin by upgrading your creed from a single sentence of purpose to a full declaration. Write it by hand each night just before sleep. Keep every line positive, present tense, and precise. I am commanding 10,000 in monthly profit through service that multiplies value. I speak with clarity and courage. I rise with ease at 5. As the pen travels, feel the statement rather than merely record it. Emotion is the heat that forges suggestion into steel. After writing, close your eyes and repeat the creed aloud 3 times in a calm, steady tone, neither shouting nor whispering. Hear the words. Observe any flicker of disbelief lurking behind them. Do not fight the doubt head-on. Instead, soften it by adding proof statements. This week I secured 1 new client. Yesterday I finished chapter 3. These proofs act like anchors holding the ship of belief steady amid inner currents. Upon waking, read the same page before feet hit the floor. Reading your own handwriting reminds the brain that these are not distant ideals but instructions you crafted. Continue to speak the creed while performing the breathing sequence. Combining breath with affirmation links the words to a physical state of calm command, making them easier to recall under stress. Throughout the day, watch for moments that trigger negative inner chatter. A difficult email, an unexpected invoice, a critical comment. The mind may default to sentences such as "I always mess things up" or "this never works for me." The instant you detect the phrase, pause and label it "not my direction." Replace it with a neutral yet forward-looking line, "I am learning to handle complex invoices quickly. I refine every draft until it shines." This replacement is not empty flattery, it is a steering wheel. Language is trajectory. Repetition locks the steering into place. Employ strategic reminders. Record your creed in your own voice on a phone and set it as the alarm tone at midday. Instead of a generic chime, you receive a surge of identity reinforcement precisely when afternoon energy dips. Pair the audio with a minute of upright posture and a sip of water. Small rituals layered create compound impact. At week's end, review the notebook and underline any line that now feels obvious rather than aspirational. That is proof of integration. Replace it with a fresh stretch goal so the creed stays slightly beyond current reach. Growth loves edges. Some nights resistance will flare. The pen grows heavy, the voice sounds hollow. Acknowledge it. Write the feeling on a separate slip. I feel doubtful because progress slowed. Tear the slip, discard it, then proceed with the creed. The physical act of discarding signals the subconscious that doubt was considered, expressed, and rejected. Inject sensory depth into autosuggestion. While speaking, visualize scenes in vivid color, involve scent and texture. If wealth is your aim, picture the sturdy grain of a wooden desk in your upgraded office, the fresh leather scent of a chair, the quiet click of quality pens. The subconscious stores imagery better than abstract numbers. Link your master mind to the process. Open each weekly huddle by reading personal creeds aloud. Hearing others declare their visions multiplies conviction, much like singers holding a single note that swells into harmony. Collective suggestion accelerates private belief. Guard the final 5 minutes before sleep. Replace scrolling and broadcast headlines with silent repetition of 3 victory memories from the day. The brain consolidates experience during early night cycles. Feeding it triumph primes the nocturnal mind to search for patterns that repeat winning behavior. Persist even on evenings when fatigue tempts you to skip. One missed night does not break the chain, but it weakens the channel through which cosmic habit force flows. If you falter, perform a double session at the next opportunity, reading and writing creed twice, morning and mid-afternoon, to reseal the groove. Remember that faith and fear demand the same energy. Both ask you to believe in something unseen. Autosuggestion turns the dial toward faith deliberately and daily until fear lacks bandwidth. In-time auto results arrive so consistently that the creed reads like a diary entry rather than a prophecy. The quiet power of repeated words reshapes internal reality first, external conditions second. The process is invisible to onlookers until dividends explode in the open. New partnerships arrive. Solutions appear while walking. Income streams multiply. Friends label it coincidence. You know it is compounded suggestion doing its silent work. Keep the pen moving, the voice resonating, and the images bright. Every line you carve tonight becomes a blueprint that builders inside your mind will follow at dawn. The habit that woke you now speaks through you, and the universe listens in the language of unwavering repetition. You can plan with genius and speak creeds that shake the walls, yet if cellular energy collapses by midday, the mission enters slow motion. Napoleon Hill visited factories and offices where ambition died not from lack of ideas but from dull blood sugar, stiff posture, and brains glazed by stale air. He wrote that success rests on a sound body commanding a sound mind. Energy is the silent partner of every habit. Build it like capital. Spend it like gold. Guard it like a fortress. Begin with the law of first fuel. Within 30 minutes of waking, pour 1 tall glass of water into the body. Add a pinch of sea salt or squeeze of lemon. Sleep dehydrates you. Water revives electrical signals between neurons. The salt provides minerals that carry those signals. Lemon wakes liver enzymes that clear night waste. This simple act raises cognitive speed more than a cup of coffee consumed on an empty stomach. Pair water with movement fresh from the creed. 10 squats, 10 push-ups, 10 high knee lifts ignite muscle and spine. Blood surges carrying oxygen to the prefrontal cortex. When the brain receives that flood, it releases norepinephrine, which sharpens focus like a lens adjusting to sunlight. Breakfast must balance protein, fiber, and healthy fat while avoiding rapid sugar. Oats mixed with chopped nuts and berries, whole eggs with spinach, Greek yogurt with seeds. These meals release glucose in a steady wave rather than a spike that crashes before noon. Remove processed bread and pastry for 90 days. Note the difference in afternoon alertness. Schedule deep work blocks according to ultradian rhythm, which cycles between high and low focus roughly every 90 minutes. Choose 2 such blocks in the morning and 1 in the early afternoon. During a block, silence phone, put browser in reader mode in close door. When 90 minutes end, stand up, walk outside or near a window, breathe slow 5 times and stretch arms overhead. This recovery minute clears adenosine, a fatigue molecule, and restores frontal lobe power. Light is food for the hormonal clock. Spend at least 10 minutes in outdoor brightness within 1 hour of sunrise. Sunlight enters the retina and triggers release of cortisol at the proper dose. Cortisol during daylight is not the enemy, it is the starter current that energizes cells. At night, keep rooms dim so melatonin rises and repairs tissue. Two extremes, bright morning, soft evening, teach the nervous system when to fire and when to deeply relax. Adopt the 90-second cold rinse at the end of every shower. Cold water shocks the vagus nerve, which lowers resting heart rate and floods the bloodstream with dopamine that remains elevated for hours. The mind exits the shower like a warrior stepping from icy river, ready for the first negotiation or workout. Fear of the chill becomes a daily victory that confirms identity. Use nutrition timing. Consume a palm-sized portion of lean protein 2 hours after breakfast and again mid-afternoon. Turkey slices, cottage cheese, lentils, or whey blended with water. Protein provides amino acids brain uses to manufacture dopamine and serotonin. Stable supply prevents mood dips that sabotage discipline. Hydrate through the rule of sip before send. Each time you hit send on email or message, take one mouthful of water. People write dozens of messages daily. The habit can deliver an extra liter without conscious tracking. Guard caffeine. 2 cups maximum before noon, then none. Caffeine late in the day hides fatigue but blocks deep sleep. Deep sleep is where growth hormone repairs muscles and the hippocampus files memories. Sleep debt disguises itself as laziness the next morning. Protect it. Introduce micro-fasts to strengthen metabolic flexibility. Once per week, delay first meal until noon. Drink water, tea, or black coffee only. The body switches to fat oxidation, reducing inflammation and sharpening mental clarity. Use the fast morning for creative planning or strategic reading. The empty your belly fuels sharper thought by keeping blood away from digestion and sending it toward the brain. Evening wind down begins 90 minutes before planned sleep. Shut all bright screens, switch on a lamp with warm color, play soft instrumental music or natural sounds. Write 3 accomplishments and 1 lesson in a notebook. Reading the list signals the mind that the day is complete, no need to cycle unfinished loops during dreams. Room temperature during sleep should be cool. Crack a window if season allows. Cooler air signals the hypothalamus to drop core temperature, which deepens slow wave cycles. Place phone in another room so rising requires standing. The movement breaks temptation to scroll in bed and sets the dawn habit in motion. Supplement carefully. Magnesium glycinate 30 minutes before bed relaxes muscles and supports neurotransmitters required for restful cycles. Omega-3 oil at breakfast strengthens cell membranes, including neurons, improving mood regulation. Get blood tested for vitamin D, deficiency drags energy into fog. Exercise strategy follows the principle of compound strength and explosive heart. 3 times per week perform 20 minutes of compound lifts such as squats, presses, and rows. 2 other days practice high-intensity intervals, for example cycling sprints of 20 seconds with rest of 1 minute repeated 8 times. Strength training increases insulin sensitivity, interval work boosts mitochondrial density, together they enlarge the battery from which success draws. Breath practice heals stress gaps. Twice daily engage in body scan breathing. Inhale to a slow count of 4, hold for 4, exhale for 8. The extended exhale recruits the parasympathetic branch, lowering heart rate and blood pressure. Use it before crucial calls. A calm physiologic state radiates authority. Monitor energy like a financier watches cash flow. Keep a simple log hour by hour for 1 week, rating energy 1 to 5. Spot patterns. Maybe an afternoon slump at 14:30 follows a heavy lunch. Adjust meal composition, timing, or walking breaks. The habit of measurement itself lifts awareness, which naturally chooses better fuel. Social energy counts. After alliance meetings you might feel charged, yet if later conversations devolve into gossip the battery leaks. Notice emotional state after each interaction. Preserve relationships that add voltage, kindly limit those that drain and refuse to recharge. Seasonal shifts require adjustment. In winter, add 10 grams of healthy fat to breakfast to combat reduced daylight. In summer, shift workouts to early hours before heat saps performance. Flexibility within principles keeps energy engine humming year-round. Finally, integrate joy. Schedule at least 1 hour weekly for an activity done purely for delight: painting, dancing, reading fiction, playing an instrument. Joy lifts dopamine. High dopamine strengthens will, making discipline easier rather than harder. Joyless grind erodes motivation until even the strongest system collapses. Energy is not merely physical, it is the current that powers thought, speech, and belief. Maintain it and every morning decision flames brighter. Neglect it and discipline flickers no matter how noble the creed. Treat the body as chief executive of your ambition, the mind as strategist, and the spirit as board chairman. United they form a corporation that can outwork fatigue, outlast opposition, and compound victories into legacy. Momentum grows when thought and action travel in the same straight line, yet the world constantly pulls them apart. Notifications slice attention into shreds. Random requests disguise themselves as opportunities. The mind drifts into low-level tasks that feel productive and are not. To keep the habit pure, you must master the art of strategic no. Every yes you utter invites a dozen hidden obligations. Every no you deliver safeguards time, focus, and integrity. Napoleon Hill observed that prolific achievers accepted only plans that advanced their major purpose and rejected all others with polite finality. Producing a respectful no is a skill that can be rehearsed and automated. Start with the internal filter. Whenever a new demand enters, ask 2 precise questions. Does this request accelerate my 90-day target or strengthen a critical relationship central to that target? Can it be completed without stealing energy from my keystone routine or deep work block? If either question returns a no, then the answer to the requester is no. Do not linger in indecision. Delay bleeds mental bandwidth. The first yes is to purpose, everything else lines up behind or waits outside the gate. Craft 3 ready-made refusal phrases tailored to common scenarios. 1 for social invitations that clash with evening wind down. Thank you for thinking of me. My schedule is fully committed this week. Let us reconnect next month. 1 for extra tasks at work that dilute deep projects. That sounds valuable. Right now my priority is delivering X by Friday. Would you like me to shift focus or suggest another resource? 1 for unsolicited offers in your inbox. I appreciate your message and will pass. Firm, concise, courteous. Practice in front of a mirror until the words leave the lips without apology or tension. Install buffer time on the calendar labeled processing window. 20 minutes before lunch and 20 before the end of day. These buffers are for triaging new inputs. If a request arrives outside buffer time, note it quickly, then return to the prime task. At buffer time, run the 2-question filter and decide. This simple container prevents context switching, which fractures the flow state earned through the morning ritual. Reputation management becomes easier when people understand your lane. Publicly share your focus. In team meetings, state this quarter my primary objective is refining the client onboarding sequence. Transparency breeds respect. Colleagues begin to route non-essential tasks elsewhere. Your no becomes an expected boundary, not a surprise. Sometimes you must refuse an internal voice rather than a person. Cravings to scroll victim stories when fatigue hits. Bargain thoughts like "I'll just watch 1 episode." Use a spoken interruption. Out loud state "not my direction," then stand, move 5 steps and drink water. Physical interruption disrupts neural loops more effectively than silent resistance. For opportunities that seem enticing yet misaligned, create a maybe later list. Write them down with date and reason for deferral. Revisit during quarterly review. Most fade without regret. The list reassures the mind that ideas are not lost, only queued. This prevents fear of missing out from hijacking present commitments. Recognize that every new yes requires support energy. A single additional meeting spawns prep notes, follow-up, and mental residue. Use the iceberg analogy. What appears small above water hides a bulk beneath. Before agreeing, visualize the full iceberg. If you still accept, then block time for the hidden tasks immediately. When guilt emerges after a no, remember the opportunity cost ledger. Draw 2 columns: gain from saying yes and cost to ongoing mission. Costs often outweigh gains by multiples. Keep recent ledger examples near your planner. Data calms emotion. At the family level, discuss boundaries proactively. Explain that you are dedicating specific hours to a project that benefits everyone long term. Share how they can signal urgent needs without default interruption. Provide a mutually agreed hand gesture or note. Respect rises when communication is clear and results become visible. Once a week, count the number of times you said no and yes. Aim for a ratio where yes aligns strictly with mission and relationship, no handles everything else. The exact numbers matter less than awareness. If yes grows indiscriminately, tighten the filter. Celebrate decisive no statements with a micro reward like a deep breath on the balcony or a stretch. Reinforcement teaches the nervous system that protecting purpose feels good. Over months, the body associates clarity with relief, making future refusal easier. Build a library of templates automation handles. Email auto replies during deep work windows, booking links that eliminate back and forth scheduling, purchase policies that prevent scope creep. Automation delivers no without emotional tax. Remember, you are not rejecting people, you are rejecting paths that diverge from destiny. True allies respect a focused traveler and eventually model the same discipline. Each protected minute becomes a brick in the fortress guarding your best work. Carry a small card in your wallet. One side reads purpose requires protection. The other side shows today's single highest leverage act. When temptation arrives, pull the card, glance once and decisions clarify. This mastery of strategic no multiplies the power of every earlier principle. The dawn habit, the blueprint, the alliance, the energy stack, they all thrive in the clear space carved by refusal. Say no with grace and yes will echo with power. The habit is ingrained, the alliance hums, the strategic no shields your focus, and cosmic habit force powers the current. Now a deeper horizon calls the transformation of your private victories into public value. Napoleon Hill taught that riches mean little unless they circulate into better lives, that the final proof of mastery lies in service and expansion. This closing segment elevates your daily habit from personal engine to societal generator, ensuring that success you attract becomes success you distribute and multiply. Begin with the principle of surplus distribution. Each month, calculate the surplus born from your habit, new income, time saved, or skills sharpened. Carve 10% of that surplus into a service fund. If the surplus is money, allocate cash to a specific account labeled opportunity. If it is time, schedule those hours under a calendar tag give. Skills become mentorship sessions, products or tools offered to a community that cannot yet afford them. Recording the surplus converts vague generosity into structural generosity. Next, create a ripple ledger. List the names of people whose lives tangibly improved because your keystone practice positioned you to help. A team member who learned client acquisition, a family member whose tuition you paid, a charity that received a donation. Reviewing the ledger monthly reinforces that mastery radiates far beyond the self. The subconscious loves feedback. When it sees the disciplined mornings echo into visible impact, it doubles commitment without coaxing. Transform knowledge into assets that work while you sleep. Outline your method in a short guide, record lessons in concise videos, design templates that compress a year of trial and error into an afternoon for others. Host these assets on a platform with clear access tiers: free, basic, premium, advanced. This scaffolding turns single tutoring moments into continuous empowerment. Your dawn habit thus evolves into intellectual property, generating both revenue and reach. Institutionalize the alliance. Draft bylaws that allow new cohorts to form under the original ethos. Provide starter charters, sample agendas, and accountability trackers. Permit chapters to operate independently while sharing victories through a central forum. This decentralization keeps growth organic while preserving culture. Hill observed that harmonious cooperation multiplies faster than dictatorship. Let the mastermind seed forests, not just saplings. Channel a portion of profits into a legacy investment vehicle. Options include index funds earmarked for scholarship endowments, real estate dedicated to community centers, or tech labs for young innovators. Automate transfers on the same day each month. Automation ensures that giving does not depend on moods or market swings. Over decades, the compounding effect outpaces any one-time gift, just as your daily habit outpaced sporadic spurts. Guard humility. Success draws applause, applause courts ego, and ego corrodes discipline. Weekly perform a silent act of service that no ledger records. Clean litter from a park, pay for a stranger's groceries, write a thank you letter to a forgotten teacher. Anonymous good deeds remind the psyche that worth flows from who you are, not what you display. Integrate reflection retreats. Once a year, disconnect from devices for 72 hours. Carry only journals and a printed copy of your creed. Hike or sit by water. Review the victories, ripple ledger, surplus records, and long-term benchmarks. Ask 3 questions. Has the habit grown rigid where it should evolve? Do current pursuits align with core purpose or drift toward vanity? Where can surplus heal the greatest wound in others? Return with refinements and renewed fire. Prepare a transmission document. Write a clear step-by-step manual of your dawn routine, blueprint, energy protocols, alliance structure, and strategic no framework. Give copies to heirs, partners, protégés. Update it annually. Should illness or age reduce your pace, the mission remains alive in pages others can follow. True legacy is duplication of wisdom. Anticipate succession. Identify at least one individual within the alliance or workplace capable of steering projects without you. Mentor them openly, share financials, challenges, decision logic. Transfer responsibility gradually. Succession protects the results you built from collapsing if you pivot to new horizons. Adopt the philosophy of enlightened self-interest. Every transaction must benefit all parties long-term or you decline. This approach builds a reputation that precedes you, opening doors impossible to force. People will say yes before you ask because prior interactions proved you leave them stronger. Master time arbitrage. Invest in tools, staff, or technology that perform repetitive tasks, freeing you for vision and relationship building. Track hours liberated, reinvest a fraction in rest and creativity. Excessive grind shrinks perspective. White space in the schedule invites ideas that multiply impact tenfold. Extend autosuggestion into collective vision casting. At alliance meetings, read a joint creed describing the world as improved by your combined work. We see communities thriving through ethical entrepreneurship. We see families lifted by education funded through surplus. The shared picture fuses individual motivations into unstoppable cultural momentum. Measure joy alongside revenue. Each quarter, assign a score from 1 to 10 for laughter, spontaneity, and curiosity in your life. If scores dip, restructure. Profit without joy decays into illness. Joy without profit stalls influence. The sweet spot sustains. Safeguard physical health against compounding stress by instituting deload weeks every 8th week. During deload, reduce workout intensity by 50%, extend sleep by 40 minutes per night, and schedule a massage or sauna. Cellular repair skyrockets during strategic rest, preventing burnout and ensuring decade-long consistency. Equip the next generation. Volunteer to teach the dawn habit to teenagers or new employees. Provide them a simplified street chart and challenge them to 30 days. Young minds adopt patterns rapidly. One adolescent who learns self-command today may innovate a cure or movement tomorrow. Remember, gratitude remains the engine primer. Conclude each day kneeling, standing, or seated, hands on heart, naming 3 gifts that touched the last waking hours. Gratitude resets the emotional thermostat to abundance, eliminating fear of loss and heightening creative response to challenges. At the close of each night, whisper a final affirmation. Tomorrow greets a builder, not a beggar. Then let darkness carry your plans into dreams where subconscious architects work the night shift, expanding tunnels of opportunity beneath the surface of waking perception. With habit, environment, alliance, energy, surplus, and service woven into a single fabric, you now operate on a frequency that attracts success by law, not luck. You have become the steward of a self-generating system that creates value, distributes wealth, mentors successors, and nourishes the spirit. In the words Hill would surely echo were he here, Father Time records your deeds and pays interest in proportions beyond your present sight. Keep rising before dawn. Keep laying true bricks. Keep turning victory inward into victory outward. The world will follow the light you ignite each morning long after the alarm clock falls silent. Pause and breathe. Feel the pulse in your neck, the quiet proof that you woke up with one more chance to build. Success is not distant smoke on a mountain. It is standing in the room with you right now, waiting for your next deliberate move. Decide this instant that you will no longer leave your potential on the pillow when you rise. Give it legs. Give it a voice. Give it proof in action. I challenge you to lock in tomorrow morning before today ends. Write the single habit that pulls every other win behind it. Tape that promise where sleep can see it. When dawn nudges you, do not argue. Stand. Speak your creed. Move your body. Drink your water. Strike the first blow for the day before the world throws a punch. Then come back here and declare in the comments, I kept my promise. Share the feeling in your chest the moment the habit clicked into place. Tell us the obstacle you broke like glass. Your words will light fires for brothers and sisters you have not met yet, and their victories will circle back to fuel yours. This is the silent market of courage. You give a spark, you gain a blaze. If you stumble tomorrow, you are not expelled. You are invited to rise again with louder resolve. Write that too. We grow by owning the miss and pressing forward anyway. No shame lives here, only builders and lessons. Bookmark this moment. In 30 days return and measure the distance between who you were and who you have become. I promise you will need new language to describe the person in the mirror. The clock is moving either with you or without you. Choose with. Tomorrow's world is shaped at sunrise. Go shape it and then come back and show us the blueprint drawn in sweat, voice, and relentless joy.